Last night inside the Waite Park City Hall is where first responders from the night of the Crossroads Mall incident were honored. Going on behind me at Sartell City Hall is where members of the 6th District gathered to discuss their local political concerns. I'm standing on the grounds of where Hockey Day 2018 will be taking place, Lake George. And while some people may think that the games will be played on the lake itself, there's actually going to be a rink constructed on the grounds where I'm standing. But for one family, the opening of Fresh Time and the organic produce they offer gives them something they have been searching for a long time. Minnesota is known as the land of 10,000 lakes, and while these lakes can be enjoyable, they can also be dangerous. If you were not able to make it out on Black Friday, don't worry. Many online retailers are offering Cyber Monday deals today. There were a total of 159 first responders the night of the Crossroads Mall attack from 25 different agencies. St. Cloud Mayor Dave Kleis and others wanted to make sure their efforts to save the lives of many were not forgotten from that night.
We just have to be ready, and I think that shows in an incident even in St. Cloud here.
On the night of September 17, 2016, police say Tahir Adan posed as a security guard and stabbed people shopping at the Crossroads Mall after asking them if they were Muslim. 10 people were injured in the attack, and Adan was eventually gunned down by Jason Falconer, an off-duty police officer from Avon. Last night inside the Waite Park City Hall is where first responders from the night of the Crossroads Mall incident were honored.
Everyone came without, we don't worry about what the color of the badge on the sleeve is. It's answering the call, and they were there, and we wanted to make sure we recognized them.
One of those first responders from the night of the attack was Waite Park police officer Preston Voigt.
All my training kicked in and just knew that we had to get our job done.
Kleis says it's about the response from everyone when an emergency happens.
You need that help, whether it's police, it's fire, or EMS. We all come to the aid of one another.
And when duty calls, it doesn't matter what department the responders are from.
We come to the defense no matter what happens. Jurisdictions and boundaries mean nothing when there's an emergency.
Now, after 6 months, Kleis says the bond is tightened between both first responders and community members.
It's clearly showed the community that came together, and not only did those, the first responders come together that night, but the community as a whole has come together over this long period of time.
Now, Mayor Kleis did say he wants people to do what they did at the mall before the attack by continuing to shop there and not live in fear after the incident. Town hall meetings are a chance for community members to share their concerns, and while some in attendance were able to have their voice heard, others were not given the opportunity to do so. We are the wall! We are the wall! The Sartell Town Hall meeting was held Wednesday night. Congressman Tom Emmer took questions inside the City Hall from people in attendance ranging from climate change to healthcare.
All the Minnesotans that I know and that we associate with, they don't look at it as a matter of being a Republican or a Democrat, right? And they want to make sure that you survive and you thrive just like everybody else.
But outside, others were waiting for the opportunity to express their concerns.
I'm standing outside here in the rain and the cold and getting wet because this is democracy. This is me trying to get my congressman's attention.
Maine, who has aging parents and a daughter with a speech impediment, was one of a couple hundred people from all different backgrounds who gathered to have their concerns addressed by Emmer.
We all have something we want to ask him, or we wouldn't be standing out here in rainy, cold, windy weather. I mean, we're all Minnesotans, don't get me wrong, but nobody wants to stand out here in this weather.
Nachiketa, an immigrant who grew up in the area, expresses concern over the town he knows best.
And I feel this is my community, and I see it kind of closing in and becoming more hateful and ignorant.
As an immigrant and a U.S. citizen, he is also worried about how long he will be allowed in his country.
I feel threatened, and even though I'm a citizen, that can be taken away.
The diversity of the crowd speaks to a nation trying to unite.
There is a big part in our American population that is willing to stick together rather than divide.
It's a great opportunity to highlight the community and the heritage of hockey that we have.
Recently, it was announced that the city of St. Cloud would be the site of Hockey Day Minnesota next year. I'm standing on the grounds of where Hockey Day 2018 will be taking place, Lake George. And while some people may think that the games will be played on the lake itself, there's actually going to be a rink constructed on the grounds where I'm standing. which is what St. Cloud State head women's hockey coach Eric Rude says is special about the event.
The thing that's really fun about Hockey Day is having that outdoor presence and celebrating, you know, what it is to play outside.
Rude had the privilege of being able to coach his Huskies on Hockey Day last year in a game which they won in a shootout.
That was the first thing that popped into to my mind when I heard that this potentially was going to be coming to St. Cloud is you know, how fortunate we were to be a part of it last year.
And he says it had a different feel than normal.
The atmosphere and energy around our team was pretty high when we played that game.
But for St. Cloud Mayor Dave Kleiss, the day is about more than the hockey being played.
It's not only the function of that day, it gives exposure, positive exposure to a community so that people come back in the future.
And he's looking forward to bringing the tradition to central Minnesota for the first time.
It's an honor, and we're excited to host Hockey Day Minnesota.
Ryan Junty, UTVS News. Continuing with international news, a deadly subway bombing in Russia that left at least 14 dead and dozens injured led Russian investigators to identify a suicide bomber. The investigative committee says a 22-year-old Kyrgyz-born man, Barzan Dzaylov, set off the blast on the St. Petersburg subway. Investigators have found new evidence in the case of Terrence Brisk. Last November, Brisk was found dead on his property after hunting alone. Sunday morning, officers responded to a small sedan hitting a tree and telephone pole near Lake George in St. Cloud. President Donald Trump has fired the Attorney General of the United States. Back in Minnesota, with the April 18th deadline for filing taxes approaching, the Department of Revenue and Revenue Commissioner Cynthia Bowerly have a few tips to help the half of Minnesotans who have yet to pay their taxes this season. Absolutely. After seeing those videos, Tanya, how can you not want to adopt Swiss Roll? So go out there and adopt him today. No, you can't. You know, even though the sun wasn't there, it was still, you know, relatively nice out there. I believe it was like 45, 50 degrees.